Good evening, YouTube. What the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Warhammer 2. We're going to be following Isabella von Karstein, led by Luke the Duke, up against Ayukin, who is leading the Dark Elves. That's a pretty big army of Dark Elves. It's not crazy good infantry, but it's a interesting build. There's going to be a lot of armor-piercing missiles in it. These repeater crossbow riders can be a pain against certain vampire units. Cold One Knight, Cold One Chariot. Check out all the different units here. So for the vampire army, we got a Crypt Ghoul on either flank, it looks like. A line of Graveguard with the Sternsman in the center. Isabella von Karstein, and one Blood Knight. Let's check it out here. The repeater crossbow is going to move up and open fire. Not sure that the Graveguard are really a solid target here because they can heal and even resurrect. Dire Wolves here, which is the Dire Pack, are going to come after these crossbows, and the Dark Elf riders are going to need some help, and they're going to need it fast. I'm surprised we're not seeing the Cold One Knights come out quicker because all of this is lost ammo now. Isabella's trying to catch these ones. There's not really much she can do to them, to be honest. Vampire army hasn't moved yet. Looks like Isabella's doing either a bit of chasing or scouting, maybe both. She's going to spot these units back here. Let's see if the Cold One Knights go into action. She certainly wouldn't want to dive down on these repeater crossbows. Still kind of surprised to not see the Cold One Knights come do something about this Dire Pack, which is just savaging this this rider. They're finally going to be activated. But neither player wanting to move their main infantry lines, just kind of wanting to go through this initial skirmish phase. Yeah, the repeater crossbows are going to get caught because they tried to make a turn and it's not going to work, and they're going to get wrapped up and killed very quickly. In fact, Dire Pack and Isabella should be able to make a clean getaway from the relatively slow Cold One Knights. So let's see what happens here. Plus, the Isabella could summon zombies. She almost did it. I was going to say she could summon the zombies right on top of the Cold One Knights. Now, they'll get a good charge here. Dire Pack should do a little damage in return, though. This is an anti-large unit. And there's a Master of Beguilement, which is really going to hurt these guys now. So, Dark Elf player is not really going to be in a great spot here. Isabella throws in an Invocation of Nehek, and the Knights are trying to pull away, but they really can't. It's just a poor engagement at this point. Not sure why the Crypt Ghouls are the target here. The Blood Knights definitely should be, but they're not visible yet. But why pick an unarmored target to use armor-piercing missiles on? It's kind of a strange choice. Kind of a strange choice indeed. The Knights go crazy back here. They do cause a lot of damage to the Dire Pack, but don't even get to kill it, so it ends up not going to be a very good trade. Not at all. And the this chariot over here, I'm trying to think, where's my UI? There it is. Yeah, this chariot over here has gotten a few kills. I don't know how useful it's really been, but it's going to continue to skirmish a bit. The Blood Knights is now on a chase, and Dark Elf army is just sitting here. And if this thing happened, I mean, this is what you want to do. You want to swing here to the protection of your army because these Blood Knights aren't as fast, right? But the Dark Elf player... And then why not move up and let your shades start unloading on this vampire infantry while Isabella's way back here and can't support? I don't know, just a couple of strange decisions here by the Dark Elves, in my opinion. So the repeater crossbow is still just running away from the cavalry. Trying to get a zombie summon into the repeater crossbows. Not gonna happen. Not quite, at least. Now the Dark Elves are going to move forward. The vampire line spread thin like that. Like I said, it would be interesting to see what they could do on one flank, because then the vampire would have to move all the way across the map, and they're a relatively slow faction. And you can see here the repeater crossbows caught once again. The Dark Elf player just not able to micromanage his repeater crossbows. These Crypt Ghouls should do decent against the Dread Spears. Probably not as good against the Witch Elves. But the infantry of the Dark Elves was not very good to begin with. They were going to be very dependent on these shades, which didn't really move up and take advantage of these scenarios here. There are some dread spears here, but these shades are a little bit exposed to stuff like these blood knights and Isabella summoning up zombies. And the shades are kind of just firing into the back of their own troops. So again, not managed real well here, especially when there's clean shots that can be taken from these flanks. Graveguards going crazy. The Crypt Ghouls did get wrecked, but these Witch Elves have taken a lot of damage in return. Again, here's your targets right here. These Graveguards have their back exposed and would be excellent targets for the Shades. The Blood Knight does get stopped, but here comes Isabella. She's going to summon up zombies on these Shades. Those Shades have freakish melee attack. Holy cow, they've got some melee attack. Here they're just going to move away. So let's see what happens. Isabella is still trying her zombie summons. The Blood Knight's trying to get away from the Dread Spears, but don't get all the way disengaged from that, so they'll have to try again. This Blood Knight's working around to the flank where the Shades are now trapped. And they're going to be run down. Dark Elf player wasn't able to protect his Shades here, and the Shades were the key to this army. He should have moved up, used his range to force the vampires to attack his infantry, gone completely, kept the repeater crossbows close to his own Shades for protection. Yeah, at this point the Blood Knights I think are going to be able to get in here and finish some things up. Vampires should be able to cut their way through the relatively light Dark Elf infantry that was brought to the fight. This Dread Spear is making itself useful. It's keeping a Blood Knight completely out of the fight over here. Yeah, the Shades are getting a lot of kills, but it's probably mostly against zombies. And quite a few of the Shades were taken out by Blood Knights. The Shades, these particular Shades don't have any armor-piercing melee attacks. And this Chariot really needed to be rear-charging the infantry instead of just sitting back firing all its ammo. So very odd army choice and odd use of it by the Dark Elf player here. The Shades were your main damage component, but you were very reserved in how you use them. So again, it was just kind of a strange choice. And you needed to protect them, but you had the Chariot and your other units deployed. I don't know, again, it was a strange choice. The repeater crossbows and the Shades were the damage component of his army, but he did not keep them safe long enough for them to do what they needed to do. So the Dreadlord here is going to be cut to pieces by the undead, and what ends up being a pretty clean victory for the vampires. So there we go. Let's take a look at the end screen. Yeah, I mean, just the units that needed to do the damage just weren't able to do it. But thanks to Luke Duke for submitting, letting us see Isabella von Karstein, which you don't see terribly often, and Ayukin. Alright, we're back in another replay, this one from Elo Sir, taking on Tassos 117. That is a pretty frightening infantry line of High Elves that he's got, but we do have an engineer here buffing a couple of cannons. We'll see how that goes. There's some Quarrelers, Ungrim Iron Fist, a Thane, I'm assuming with the Tormentor Sword, he does. Longbeards with great weapons, Dwarf Warriors with great weapons on the flanks, a Bugman's Rangers on one flank, and then a Slayer and a front line of Dwarf Warriors. So the Dwarf's front line is not nearly strong enough to withstand the High Elves infantry. There's also a Grudge Thrower. So it's a Grudge Thrower and a cannon. And the Engineer is buffing their accuracy, so should be scoring a fair bit of hits here. It's an Illyrian Reaver coming in from behind. We'll see whether or not the Elf player is aware of it. Silver Helms on both flanks here. And then the Lions intermixed with the Swordmasters of Hoeth Tyrion. And let's see, a High Mage. Let's see what spells were brought for the High Mage. Healing and Hand of Glory, which is reload and attack skill. So that would help the archers. But look at the accuracy. Oh my goodness. There goes the martial prowess on the Swordmasters of Hoeth. because they got absolutely shreked. And then look at this Silver Helm here too, getting destroyed by the cannon. So that accuracy buff from the engineer is proving quite potent here. Oh, look, they knocked over all the Longbeards, but didn't go through to the artillery. I don't think they would have killed it, but at least they could have disrupted it. That was kind of interesting. Those Reavers got a really solid charge. Wasn't going to do a lot of damage, but when it knocked the enemy over, they should have tried to push through and capitalize on getting to that artillery. Because look at what the artillery's doing here. I mean, it's absolutely gruesome. And what it's accomplished here. The Silver Helm is almost dead. 23 kills. The Goblobber's got 30-something kills. So yeah, the High Elf player is going to bring the heat from the flanks with the cavalry, but it's just not going to matter. Cannon has absolutely destroyed most of those cavalry. Another charge from the Reavers here. They're going to be countercharged. And the Illyrian Reavers are a very squishy cav unit to be up against Dwarf Infantry. Dragonback Slayer back here as well. These Silver Helms might get a good charge here. They've got a pretty solid charge bonus, and these Dwarf Warriors just face clean away from them. The Silver Helms are also kind of squishy. And if the Dragonback Slayers touch them, it's going to slow them down a lot. Okay, so the High Elf Infantry coming in from the flank. They are pretty beaten up. Let's see if the cavalry here, yeah, this Illyrian Reaver got chewed up by Slayers. These dwarf units may want to get back before they get outmaneuvered. Same thing here. Probably want to get back before you get outmaneuvered. Alright, let's see what we get here. Some Dwarf Warriors going to get in the way of the Executioners. Sorry, Swordmasters. They're going to be combined with Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Still think the Swordmasters are going to really do well here. They've got a buff to their melee attack also. They are killing dwarves rather rapidly. And over here, the Silver Helms are kind of leading the Dragonback Slayers on a chase, but the artillery goes on unstopped, and it is getting a lot of kills. The ring here used in the back of the dwarf lines, but Tyrion's, his Runefang, Sunfang, it won't do a whole lot to dwarves because they're well armored. So Tyrion definitely better watch out for Ungrim. That's not a fight that he's going to want to take part in. The dwarf line, though, is wrapping up in several spots, though here the dwarves, nope, they're going to get countercharged. The Swordmasters are going to lay waste to these Longbeards. Longbeards are not a very cost-efficient unit. The great weapons, they're kind of meh. Even when they get a lot of buffs, they're not real good. Yeah, look at that artillery just firing. 112 kills, 55 kills. The High Elf cavalry is mostly gone, but the infantry for the High Elves is doing very, very well. Look how bad the Longbeards get beaten. 6 kills, 54 kills. Unfortunately for the High Elves, though, their archers got absolutely savaged by the Goblobber. This High Elf infantry just cannot hasten its way to this artillery fast enough. Can't overstate the importance of killing that artillery. Tyrion is now in here fighting, but that is not going to be a good place to fight. And slowly but surely, even though the High Elf infantry is killing a lot of dwarves, it may not be enough because of the damage that was done here. Dragonback Slayers engage some White Lions out here. I'm pretty sure the White Lions will do well. This is finally where the High Elves can stop some of their pain and suffering here. Get back into all these skirmisher and artillery units. And the Swordmaster should start cleaning up kills pretty quick in this fight. See what happens here. And I would expect it's going to be a massacre. All these relatively squishy dwarf units back here aren't really a match. Master Engineer is going to help out. There's going to be some Slayers coming to outflank. The mainline infantry fight continues, and the quality of the High Elf units is so far carrying the battle. The Swordmaster needs to engage. Tyrion is in pretty bad shape, and he's being pursued by Ungrim and the Thane. He needs to just get away from them and stay away from them. There we go. And then, yeah, he's healing right now. Swordmasters Definitely killing a lot of units, but with those Slayers coming in, it's going to be more difficult for them to kill everything they need to here. Slayers aren't great against Swordmasters. It's just this is a lot of units even for a Swordmaster to kill. And then the Dwarves look like here on the front line, they're kind of outlasting. Nice little rear charge by the regrouped Silverhelms. There's not many of them, but the High Elves can take any help they can get right now. Strange bit here. Let's see what these archers do. Yeah, okay, they're going to come in and do a little bit of firing. Ungrim is pretty beat up. Those archers can work him a little. And the High Elf infantry here trying to finish off a Dwarf warrior with great weapons. Probably will. The Swordmasters of Hoeth slowly succumbing to the huge number of dwarves back here, but not before they killed a huge number of the dwarves. So, but with these Quarrelers back here firing away, again, the High Elves, I think, are in a bit of trouble here. Hand of Glory now on Tyrion, who's attacking the the Dwarf leadership. But I'm not sure that that's really a fight that he wants to be in. It's an anti-large Dwarf Lord and another Dwarf Lord that's well armored, and Tyrion does not have much armor piercing. But here comes the Mage. It's going to help out too. There's still an Engineer here, and if he's firing, and he is, because he's got line of sight on Tyrion, that's going to be pretty painful. But I'm pretty sure the Dwarf has this one managed though, because the High Elf infantry finally succumb under the pressure of the artillery and the skirmishers, and just a few Dwarven infantry survived to tell the tale. But that's all the Dwarf infantry survived, but that's all they needed was a little bit. But ammo running short, there is a cannon that can come back and be supported by the Engineer, and that cannon may be critical here. Because like I said, the Quarrelers and the Bugman's Rangers are running fairly short of ammo. Bugman's Rangers are now out of ammo, and Ungrim is actually in pretty bad shape, and there's a Swordmaster that regrouped. Let's see what happens here. They can definitely do some damage to this Thane. And then the White Lions keeping Ungrim busy for a second is definitely a benefit for the Elves. This Quarreler's only got about one volley. That cannon may actually clutch the game out here. The Thane is going to get hit by Tyrion, who, combined with the Swordmasters, may be able to finish him. Ungrim is almost dead, but then the High Mage is gone. I'm pretty sure the cannon becomes clutch here. Yep, just put a big hit on Tyrion and another big hit on Tyrion, and that is going to clutch the battle out for the Dwarves. Nice. Engineer saves the day. Certainly was the case. So, fun battle, Elosir. It didn't turn out exactly the way I thought it would in the start. Not at all. Things didn't look great for, things started off really good for the Dwarves with their skirmishing, but then I was kind of like, I don't know, the High Elves are really punching through that infantry, but then it's kind of over time, Dwarves kind of weathered the storm and hung around with a few units. That cannon comes back and helps finish the battle. So, hope you all enjoyed those. Appreciate them being submitted. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you all later.